Hello, and welcome to E.M.A.N, Effectively Making a Noise. Today's story is going to be Moses Institutes the Passover. Moses institutes, which means brings into being or begins the Passover. It's coming from Exodus chapter 11, verse 1 through Exodus chapter 12, verse 36. The Lord said to Moses that he would send one more plague upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt, and that afterward Pharaoh would be entirely willing to let the people of Israel go. This 10th and last plague was the severest of all, for it meant the death of the oldest child in every Egyptian home. The Lord spoke thus to Moses, "About midnight I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. From the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the maidservant who is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of the cattle. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as was never heard before, and never shall again." Then God told Moses what he must do in order to have the death angel pass over the houses of the Israelites, and what the people must do in order to be ready to march out of Egypt. Moses instructed the people to prepare and eat the Passover feast as a memorial of their deliverance from the death angel and from the Egyptian bondage, which means slavery. On the 14th day of the first month of their new year, each family was to take a male lamb without blemish, a year old, and prepare it for the Passover feast. They were to take some of the blood of the slain lamb and sprinkle it on the two side posts and on the upper post of the doors of the houses in which the lambs were eaten. And they were to roast the lamb and eat the flesh that night, together with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Also, they were to eat the feast with their loins girded, their shoes on their feet, and their staffs in their hands, ready to march in haste. For the Lord said, "If it is the Lord's Passover, for I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and will slay all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And the blood shall be a sign for you upon your houses. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt." Moses assembled all the elders of Israel and directed them how to carry out the Lord's commandment, and instructed them concerning the meaning of this important event. Moses said to them further, "And you shall observe this service as an ordinance, order, command, or law for you and for your sons forever. And it shall come to pass, when you come to the land which the Lord will give you, according to his promise, that you will keep this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children say to you, 'What do you mean by this service?' that you shall say, 'It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he slew the Egyptians and spared our houses.' When the people heard this, they bowed their heads and worshiped God. At midnight, the Lord slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn of the captive, who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, and all his servants, and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry of lamentation, which means a crying because of sorrow, in Egypt. For there was not a house where there was not one dead. And Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron by night, and said to them, "Rise up, and set you forth from among my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go, serve the Lord as you have said. Also take your flocks and your herds as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also." And the Egyptians urgently entreated the Israelites to leave their land in haste, for they said, "We will all be dead." So the children of Israel took their dough before it was leavened, and their kneading troughs bound up in their cloaks upon their shoulders. They also did as Moses had bidden them, and asked to borrow jewels of silver and jewels of gold and clothing from the Egyptians. The Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent those things that they requested. Thus, on that memorable night of the Passover, the children of Israel ended their long sojourn and period of servitude, which means the act of having to work as slaves in the land of Egypt. And that is the end.